Welcome to Wednesday night. My name's TJ Spitter. This is Spittin with Spitter. If you haven't already, go to the YouTube page, 2M1L Media. Click like, subscribe, and share so kindly, please. Before we get the show started, I'd like to shout out my sponsors. First and foremost, Lehigh Vape. They're located at 822 Nazareth Pike. You can go there for all your vaping essential needs from juice to hardware. Again, that's Lehigh Vape. Located in 822 Nazareth Pike. Tell them TJ sent you to take care of you. And for my next sponsor, Wall-to-Wall Pest Control Services. You got pests, call the wall, they get them all. Get 10% off whenever you try their services, from bed bugs to bees to mice to ants to cockroaches. Call them now. Their number is 1610-570-4835. Again, that's Wall-to-Wall Pest Control Services. You can locate them on the web at wall2wallpestcontrol.service. Contact Chuck Rockmore. Tell him his little nephew sent you. And now for my guest, a legend on and off the court. I heard you had the ill chopper back in the day, Coach. I heard you had the ill cannon. Let's be clear. I'm happy to be here. My older cousin hit me up and said, I got a great guest for you. I got a great guest. He's a legend. He's a coach. He's a mentor. He was an athletic director. He played softball. He was the hardest guard to handle in our area. As soon as he said that to me, Coach, I had to have you on. Nick Holgash, welcome to Spittin with Spitter. How you doing, good sir?
Thanks, TJ. Can you say that again? I couldn't hear you. Can you say it again and again and again?
I'm going to make a highlight clip and send that just to you.
Seriously, it's so nice to meet someone that finally agrees with what my parents said. But anyway, on a serious note, thank you for the the nice words. Very appreciative.
Thank you, Coach, for taking the time out of your busy day to come on my show and chop it up with me for a minute.
Love it.
We got some comments coming in. We got my good brother, my older brother, Alan Amy. Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, Big Al. It's always good to see you, sir. Jack Baum, I believe is how you say his last name. Let it fly, Gasher. I love it. I love it. And they're coming in early. Let's get started at the beginning, Coach. High school basketball. I mean, that's not necessarily the beginning. Let's rewind that for a second. Let's take it to where'd the passion and the love for basketball come from?
Well, I grew up in a small town called Old Forge.
Okay.
It reminds me of Phillipsburg. It's a blue-collar town, a lot of tough, hard-nosed guys, very similar to Phillipsburg. The football program is always in the States, and the basketball program, in fact, last year, I think, lost the Final Four, single-A school, and we only had 3 sports, football, basketball, and baseball. So you focus in and try to play as many as you can, and it started at a young age.
Were you a 3-sport athlete? Coach?
I was a 3-sport up until 9th grade. I broke my arm in 9th grade, and I was projected to be possibly a starter on varsity basketball. Okay. So I gave up football. I'm concentrated on basketball and baseball.
Okay.
And here I am.
And at that moment, you started taking basketball. Did you take one more seriously than the other growing up until that point, or was it the same love for all 3?
I love playing all of them, but being here in the North, I didn't like baseball practice at all. I loved basketball practice because baseball's out in the cold weather, the rain,
Right.
It just wasn't as much fun.
Right,
so
right.
I concentrated on basketball.
So you broke your arm in 9th grade. How long did that take you to heal up?
I actually got the cast off the week of practice.
Oh, wow.
I kind of played one-handed. I didn't make the starting 5, but I was the first guy off the bench.
Okay.
In my freshman year.
Varsity as a freshman?
Yeah.
That's an amazing feat. Most don't get that.
Yes.
So what was your high school career like for basketball?
I made, all Lackawanna League, which was real nice. Got to play in the All-Star game there. They had the 4 leagues at the Scranton CYC. Place was sold out, like 4,000 or 5,000 people. I played with the Lackawanna League. There was the Catholic League back then, the Susquehanna League, and the Wayne League, and they had a 4-team tournament, and we won the tournament, so that was fun. I always wanted to go to the University of Scranton to play basketball, but basically when I did my visit there, he basically told me I'd be JV, wouldn't be varsity. Right. And so Wilkes was recruiting me. I went down to Wilkes and played there, and it was really fun beating Scranton my senior year, standing next to coach at the sideline, you know. It was really fun.
What was your college career playing at that level? And for the kids that are watching that don't understand the different levels of high school and then on to college, can you explain the difference in level of the game?
Well, I tell you, it's really weird. I'm watching Ben Simmons and how he's having head case problems. I remember my freshman year, first time I went to the foul line on the varsity boys basketball team here at Old Forge. And I clanked 2 free throws, which I never missed a free throw. Never. Right. And I clanked them out of nervousness.
Right.
And then I went to Wilkes in my freshman year, and I'm on the foul line, and that same nerves came into me. How many times did I play basketball and this happened to me? Nervous again. My head went negative, and I missed 2 free throws. And then, of course, as you go along, get the experience. It's like playing in your backyard. But, it's challenging, you know, as a 9th grader to play varsity.
Right.
And my 2 daughters both started varsity at Easton High School as freshmen.
Okay. Are they better than you, Coach? Let's be honest.
I'll never, ever agree to that. I'm way too competitive for that.
My son is 17, and he can play. He's a hooper.
Yeah.
And I don't play anymore, but I still coach. And I make it clear every day that he asks me to play that he will never be able to beat me. Ever.
I don't think I could beat them now, but they're really good.
Moving on to college, what was that experience like? Because you spoke on the 4 years of high school.
I really played for a great coach. His name was Roger Beard. Anything I've accomplished, I owe to him. Unfortunately, he's not alive to hear it, but I learned so much basketball from him. Everything he taught me, I brought to Warren Hills.
We have a comment coming in from is that a Kirsten Holgash?
Yeah.
He taught my sister and I everything. I love seeing it, Coach. I absolutely love seeing it. So back to college, you're speaking on your coach, teaching you everything you know.
Oh, I can say I was a moderate scorer. I think I averaged about 11 points a game my senior year.
Okay.
Nothing, you know, I had no all-stars or anything like that. I was played with a first-team All-American, John Zapko, which we were taught to get the ball inside, pound the ball inside. When I went to Warren Hills, the coach, that was my philosophy. People thought we were going to be shooting jump shots like I do. But I believed in inside out, getting the ball inside first, and then we'll play from there.
So after college, right, is this where your tryout to go overseas comes in, or is there a path before that?
I went to Washington. I got a job as a teacher and coach right out of college.
Okay.
And I interviewed in August. And most of the seasons, the summer leagues, softball and basketball were over.
Right.
So I was looking anywhere at all that I could find a place to play. I found the Easton YMCA, and they had games. They were brutal. So many games, 30 guys. And if you lose, you might as well go home because there's 5 teams waiting to play. So you don't lose. Exactly. So make a long story short, I started my own little team for the Washington League, league, and I think we won it about 9 times, maybe 10 times.
Quiet 10-piece, Coach?
Yeah, we dominated. As we went along, we got better and better because, like, I picked up guys like Eddie Tarpey, who's phenomenal, and I just went around getting all the best players. And then we started going to the major tournaments. I don't know if you're familiar with the McCarran tournament in Allentown, the Pulsar tournament in Nazareth, and then we went up to Jim Thorpe, which was a little man's tournament. You couldn't be taller than 6'3". That was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I was playing power forward. but
Jeez.
it was a lot of fun. But I was playing in the McCarran tournament, and we're playing all those all those guys from Lehigh Valley, very good players. I can name a million of them: Glenn Nowak, Jeff McGee, and Scotty Koval. The list is endless. Eddie,
shout out to Coach Koval.
Yeah, all of them. So I scored 40. I scored 44 in a game there in the McCarran, and there were no 3-pointers on their stand back then, and that was the new record. And this guy came up to me. He was a European basketball scout.
Okay.
And he said, I was given your name to come and watch. Next thing you know, I got an invitation to St. Pete's. They picked 100 guys. I sent you the article on that. Picked 100 guys, 10 teams of 10. And they put us up at a hotel there where St. Peter's College was. My roommate was Mark Eaton of the Utah Jazz. He wasn't with Utah then, but
Let's talk about it, Coach.
6'4", and he went on to play with the Jazz. So I tell you a quick fun story. Being in Easton, I was a big Larry Holmes fan.
Right.
Watched all the fights.
Right.
So the night he was there, on a Thursday night we met. I think it was a Thursday night, maybe a Friday. And Larry was fighting Ken Norton on closed circuit TV. Okay. And there was a place there in the city that was showing the fight. And Mark asked me to take him over to the Statue of Liberty. And I told him I really needed to go see the fight. And I blew him off, basically. Well, he made the Utah Jazz, and one day I called him and I said, hey, how about some tickets to the Sixers game? He said, you still got Larry's number or no? So he's kidding, though. We became Facebook buddies. He got me tickets. It was really cool. Unfortunately, he just got killed in a bike accident.
Man.
So that's how I got the European tryout.
What's that?
That's how I got the European tryout.
And so then you come back home. You come back home and you start coaching full time?
Yes, sir.
What year was this, Coach?
Ah, man, I was the freshman coach for the first 6 years, starting in 78.
Okay.
The great coach, Mike Hayes. Very good coach. Learned a lot just being around him. Then the girls' head job opened up, and I jumped on it. I became the girls' head coach at Warren Hills.
Okay.
We were picked 4th, and we won the regular season championship. We won the playoff championship, and then we went to the final. We went to the sectional final game and got beat in overtime. It was a great year. I didn't have a senior that played. We had a couple seniors that were on the team, so I had everybody coming back. And then the boys coach, Mike Hayes, resigned, and it became very challenging to decide what I wanted to do. The girls all came to my house, brought my wife flowers and everything. It was really a tough decision, and I took the boys' job. Not knowing I was going to have 2 girls, 2 daughters that are going to be college basketball players.
It's funny how that works.
Yeah.
So how long were you the head coach out there?
I was the girls' head coach 1 year, the boys 10. And assistant coach 6.
Okay. So you had a good tenure out there.
Yeah. Yeah. It was.
At what point do you become the athlete?
I stopped because I wanted to watch my girls play. They played at Easton,
Right.
I wanted to go see them, and then I became the athletic director.
And you were the athletic director back at Warren Hills or at Easton?
No, at Warren Hills, yeah.
And how long how long were you the athletic director for? I'm sorry.
I was an administrator 22 years, but the athletic director section 15.
Wow.
And then I retired after building our, I don't know if you ever saw our new stadium over there. Yeah. It's an all sports stadium. Many people call it a football stadium. It was voted the #1 football stadium the year I left. In New Jersey.
Yeah. I'm not mad at that, Coach. I'm not mad at that. Can we talk about, so you sent me the clip of you being asked to come to the pro tryout. At the bottom of the clip, it gave a little underlined stat that you had dropped 60 plus in a Easton YMCA league game.
Yeah, it's 69 actually. Don't be cheating me.
I'm not there. Listen, I wanted you to say it. I wasn't going to cheat you. Man, listen. Sheesh.
Yeah,
Were you on?
I had no problem scoring. It was, it played against so many great point guards. I mean, and you know a lot of them, like Dana Parr. Remember Dana Parr, how tough he was? How about, I mean, you could laugh, but how about Randolph Swift, 6'6", carrying the ball? Remember him?
I just saw Randolph the other day.
Yeah. How about, I'm trying to think of Scotty Koval and Andy Wesco. How about Eric Jacobs? Could he deal?
I heard that, I heard so many different underrated stories about Coach Jacobs and how he got busy on the court. We got some comments coming in, though, Coach. Let me stop for a second.
Okay.
We have a legend here. Before we go any farther, thank you, Mr. Tarpey, for setting this up for me. For those that don't know, EJ is my older cousin. That's where I got my jump shot from. I took his jump shot, made it better. Here we are today.
True story. They call him the Little Gash.
Little Gash. James Graham, looking good, Gash.
Thanks, James.
So,
hey, I got one more name for you, and I think he might be a friend of yours.
Go ahead.
A running mate with Bobby Lee Condors. Do you remember Bobby Lee?
Yes.
You mind if I give you a quick story?
Please.
My daughters were living in New York City.
Okay.
They called me and they said, I'm just talking. They were going to some club, and they said the #1 DJ in New York City is performing at this club. I don't remember Bobby's DJ name, but I asked them, I says, is it Bobby Lee Condors? They said, I don't know, but when we get there, we'll find out. Well, they go there, and Bobby Lee's the DJ, and it's a very expensive club. Mm-hmm. And they tell them that their dad is the Gash. Well, they got VIP treatment, the bottle service, the room, everything.
As they should.
Yeah, so Bobby took care of them.
Legends recognizing legends. I love it.
Yeah, it was fun.
Who were the toughest 5 players you've had to guard?
Wow.
In the area, if you have a list.
I don't think I could stop at 5. I mean, Scotty Koval was great without the ball.
Right.
Eric Jacobs was great with the ball.
Yes.
Warren West. Do you remember Warren West by any chance? That man could deal.
He's a referee in this league that I'm in. I just seen him the other day. I love Coach West.
What's his name? It's escaping me. An Easton guy. Scotty Ransom, although he wasn't a point guard, I had to cover him a lot. That man was one of the best players. Amazing players. Just so many. And then some of the guys I even coached, like John Alston was the player of the year, went on to play at Tennessee State. Sean McClary played for me. The kid was as tough as nails. But there's so many. I mean, but I played with, you think about it, I played with and against Eddie Mast for years, played for the Knicks. Yep. In fact, we ended up playing in the Budweiser Classic, playing Phil Jackson's team in the finals. Wow. In fact, if you ever want to see the highlights, not that there's any of me, I'm in there a little bit, but I think I get the ball stolen from me. But anyway, there's a YouTube video, 1987, of us playing Phil Jackson's team in the city in the finals. We beat them. And then I got the opportunity to go with Eddie and Eddie Page. We went to Phil's house for dinner afterwards. And then he went on to be the greatest coach of all time. So it was a pretty cool experience. You can see it on YouTube. It's called Blackjack Ryan and Phil Jackson, 1987. You see Phil, player coach against us. Really cool experience.
So leaving the basketball court, now we're stepping onto the softball field. I heard you're equally as good down there in the Sunshine State, killing it.
Well, I got 3 national championship rings, very proud to say. Played in the largest tournament in the world, Richmond Round Robin, 21 years in a row. 480 teams. The only team to make it to the finals was our team from Washington, which was Rogers Motor Lines. In fact, Jack Baum was our left fielder, the guy that commented before. Right. And we lost. We had to play 17 games in one weekend because we lost our first game, and we had to fight through double elimination all the way back. And we had to beat the team in the finals. I think they were called Ohio Bud Light. We beat them the first game, and then we lost the second game in front of about 4,000 people. That was really cool. So I went on to get 3 rings, national championships. In all 3, I made first team All-American.
Okay.
I made All-American a few times after that with teams that finished 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. So, yeah, I played a lot of softball. Probably averaged anywhere from 250 to 300 games a year.
Wow.
And now
That's
in Florida,
work, Coach.
Now in Florida, you can play year-round.
Yeah. So where does your passion lie today? Is it more so toward the basketball or is it softball?
Poker. It's easier.
Ooh, now we're cooking, Coach. Texas Hold'em?
Yes, sir. I love those tournaments. Cash games.
Oh, man.
Bring it on.
I'm also a fan.
Love it.
We get together a couple times a month up here and we play. A couple guys. Oh, Matt Skirbo chiming in. I played with Coach for Shrudy's Pub at Riverview Men's League. Great times.
True. That guy's a banger right there.
Another guy that took me aside and helped me develop my game.
He always had to cover Tarpey. That's not
what
something.
What an assignment, Skirb.
Yeah, Skirb could bang with you.
Tough. Tell another kid tough as nails.
Yes, sir.
So moving on, man. What do you, before we get too personal, because we're going to get personal, what do you do to occupy your time today, Coach?
Well, I try to go to the gym 4 or 5 times a week. I do that as best I can under the circumstances.
Right.
I'm not like I used to be. I mean, I used to be a big power lifter, but with the whole COVID thing, I had to slow down a little bit. I'm in the pool every day. Go to the gym, in the pool. And then I think I have a passion for cooking and eating.
Yes, you do. Let's get to it, Coach. I love cooking myself. I love cooking for my family, for my friends. Where does this passion come from?
It's interesting because my dad is my all-time role model, but he did a lot of cooking when I was home, and I learned from him how to make all the Polish and Russian dishes, and then my mom taught me how to make sauce and all the Italian dishes, and from there, boom, I love to cook.
Nice. What's your favorite dish today?
Well, Italian would be homemade fusilli. In fact, I got some right on the stove right now. Homemade fusilli with meatballs. I love lobster tail. I could eat it every day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Same, Coach. Same.
But anything Italian is me.
And now we're gonna get to it. You fought a very extreme battle of COVID. Let's talk about it, Coach.
All right. Well, I got sick. I wasn't feeling well to the point where I needed to go to the emergency room. When I got to the emergency room, all I remember is the doctor yelling out, "Somebody get this man on oxygen immediately." And I don't remember another thing for 2 months. I was on a ventilator for 7.5 weeks. My family was told there was nothing they could do for me, nothing at all. And that, probably recommended that I come off the ventilator because I was going to be brain dead for being on the ventilator that long. Joking aside, my wife always says to me, I told him that you were brain dead when you got here, so leave him on there. But anyway, true story, though, is it was rough on her and my daughters. Very hard time. I was in the hospital 86 days. And during that time frame, not only was my wife, dealing with me, but her mom passed. So that was really an additional burden for her to carry through this whole thing. And I remember when I woke up, 10 days later, after getting off the vent, I woke up. And it's strange because I didn't ask, where am I? What happened? The first thing I asked her was, how's your mom doing? And my wife immediately got, ooh. And she asked me, did you pass my mom somewhere? And I said, no, I didn't. I mean, maybe someday I'll recall that, but I don't recall that. I had a lot of hallucinations that were really scary. I had dreamt that I was a prisoner in Vietnam. I was tied to my bed because I kept tearing out my tubes when I was hallucinating. So they tied me to my bed for 40 days, and that was really hard. And then, depression set in, and, I had 9 different tubes in me. I had a oxygen. I had a feeding tube. I had a trach. I had tubes in my lungs. I had a wound vac on my back because I had a wound size of a baseball to my spine. I had it for 7 months after I got out of the hospital too. I had to wear a wound vac on my back this whole time, trying to sleep, it was loud and it was uncomfortable. I had a catheter. I had a walker. I had a shitter. Excuse my language, but I had everything. And when I was laying in that bed, when it was like, recovery time, I couldn't breathe. I was on oxygen. I never thought I would ever be off oxygen again in my life. Never. I could not. If I sat up in my bed, I needed a minute to rest. They eventually got me to take 3 steps and sit down. I needed 5 minutes to rest. And my wife motivated me, and she did so many things to save me. It's unbelievable. I'll tell you a quickie. All the Warren Hills players got together. They sang a song to me. They sent so many messages to my daughter and my family, gifts. In fact, this Steve Jost, a guy that played for me, he's a jeweler.
Shout out to Coach.
He made this ring for me in Warren Hills colors. So many gifts, flowers. A point guard of mine on my first team ever, Scott Eckert, sent me 6 live lobsters from Maine. I mean, all kinds of stuff were coming in, and the messages were incredible. Incredible.
Jack Baum just chimes in and says, Gasher 10 run COVID.
I sure did.
So what's it like moving forward? How cautious are you?
When I first got out, excuse me, but I basically said, you know what? I almost died. I'm going to start having some fun. So the first month, maybe even longer, 2 months, I started partying, I said, screw it. I'm going to party.
Okay, Coach.
So I was going out and hitting all the bands and everything else. And then now this COVID started coming back, and I ran on my couch, man. I've been on my couch now for a long time, just hanging at home, Doesn't mean I can't go out on my balcony and have a few drinks. So I scheduled a whole bunch of activities for my wife and I to do, and now I'm concerned that we're not going to be able to do them. We got tickets to Chris Stapleton. We got tickets to Blake Shelton. Got tickets to the Eagles Vegas game. We got tickets to America's Got Talent.
Against the Raiders?
Yes, sir. I want to see that stadium.
I'm a Raiders fan, Coach. I don't know if you're aware of this.
No, I didn't know that, but we're going to kick your butt.
Coach, I would love a friendly wager as soon as this show's over.
Okay.
We could bet push-ups.
Sure. I could do 5. So I'll tell you a quick story. It meant a lot to me.
Okay.
When I interviewed for the job at Warren Hills, the principal was a former football coach.
Right.
And he looked at me and he said, I want to know what you think is your best asset. And I said, I'm competitive, really competitive. I refuse to lose. And I'll tell you right now, if there's a job in front of me, I'm going to get it done. He said, I'd like to ask you, what's your biggest liability? I said, I'm competitive and I could be an asshole. I don't like to lose. I said, but I promise I'll work on it. So when I got COVID, the head football coach that worked for me, one of the best coaches I've ever been around in my life, Bobby Lockhart, came to visit me. And he said, we got together, all of us, and we said, one thing we know is he's not going to die from COVID. He's too competitive. And that's true. That's my spirit. Everywhere I go, Everybody always says that about me.
It is such a blessing having you on the show, and I'm glad that you made it through.
Thank you very much.
Before we get out of here, as a married man, and I've been with my wife for 17 and some change. 17 and some change. Now, we're talking offline about how you make it work. How long have you and your wife been together, sir?
August 19th will be our 47th year together from our first date at Grablic's Ice Cream. And we dated for 6 years and we're married 41. Not saying there weren't many bumps, or there's obviously always bumps, but somehow, some way, she's always been the rock of my family. And she's a very religious woman. Anyone that knows her, I've never, ever heard someone say a bad word about her. So I got lucky.
Same here, Coach. And I was wondering, just a little tidbit of advice for a younger guy, how to make it work.
Happy life, happy life.
Talk to him, Coach.
You got it. You got it.
My brother chimed in and said, longer to be alive. Tarp says, Gash is tough as nails. And yes, you are, sir.
I did my share of battling, that's for sure.
The first time I was ever at the Washington Summer League, I come down, and I'm not playing. I'm just spectating at the time. I believe Tarp was playing. You were playing. You had this cutoff on, and you were built like a stacked pit bull. And then I watched you hand out work. I'm like, goodness gracious. And it all comes full circle, Coach. It all comes full circle. I greatly appreciate you. Before we go, I asked all the questions tonight. Is there anything you want to ask me?
Well, first I want to tell you how I met you.
Okay.
Tarp and Moose Peerfree, they invited me to come down and play at the Firth Youth Center.
Oh, Moose.
And you don't probably remember this, but I never met you before, and I had to cover you.
Really?
And you were shooting bombs. I mean, I never saw anybody shoot from the areas you were shooting for. And you made 2 in a row. And Paigey said to me, got to get out and cover that. I said, you ain't got to make them from there all night long. And you kept making them. And I remember getting in the car and saying, who the hell was that guy? So that's how I met you.
I don't remember that. And only because I'm so fortunate and blessed to have played with so many great people. Thank you for that compliment. That's going to be a highlight that I said in Skirb and Tarp as well.
Okay.
So I appreciate it. Is there anything you want to ask me before we get out of here?
I just want to say thank you very much for having me on.
Most definitely.
If you don't mind, I want to give a shout out to somebody. I have a good buddy that needs a kidney, Tony Trotta. I'm going to cry. He's been through a lot. Cancer, needs a kidney. If anybody would like the website, that might be interested in donating a kidney, reach out to me, okay? I'd appreciate that.
Man, thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
And, get me the website, and I'll post it on all my social media platforms when we're done here.
Okay.
Before we go, I want to thank EJ Tarpey, my big cousin, for always being in my corner and teaching me how to shoot, and Skirbo for always being in my corner and teaching me how to kill.
Let's play them 2-on-2 someday.
What's that?
Let's play them 2-on-2, me and you. We might not win the game, but we'll bloody them.
No question, Coach. No question. I'm for it. I'm for it. I appreciate you, Coach. Thank you so much for coming on Spittin' with Spitter. This has been another episode Wednesday night. Coach Nick Holgash, a legend on and off the court. Thank you, sir.
Have a good one.
Have a blessed evening.
God bless.